All right, Ed, can you hear me?
I can hear you well. And can you hear me?
Yes, I can. So I'm just going to ask you to switch to the next slide and we'll just get things kicked off here. I see there's a lot of you already on. I think we have just about 25 people here today. So welcome everyone. My name is Olivia Brown. Some of you, if not all of you, probably already know me. I'm the Director of Business Development for the Nectari product in North America, and Edgardo is your trainer today, and he's one of our best guys for the job. So you're in very good hands on today's session, which is all about the Excel add-in. So before we get things going, I'm just going to go through a few housekeeping items. Thanks, Ed, in regards to how the session is going to go today. So you will all be muted. Your microphones will be muted, of course, as Edgardo goes through the session. It is a 2-hour session. There will be a Q&A at the end. You can submit questions, though, anytime in the question pane. So if you do have questions, please don't hesitate to type them in. We don't want you to forget them. We do want to answer your questions. So again, please just share them with us, and Edgardo will cover off all those questions at the end. Something very important to mention, because a lot of people have been contacting us about this, the recordings will all be sent out once all sessions have been completed. So if you do want to re-listen to the recordings, you want to share them with someone else in your organization, you'll definitely be able to do so. I believe the last session is maybe in a week or so from now, so you will have all the sessions recorded at your disposal. I just want to say thank you so much to everybody for joining us today, and I hope for those of you who joined the first session, which was on Tuesday with Gerardo, you got something out of it and you enjoyed that session. So again, just want to mention the fact that, you know, really the reason we're doing this is because obviously we have some travel restrictions right now. We'd probably be seeing each other at conferences and at least getting to spend a little bit of FaceTime together as we do from time to time. So we really just wanted to take this opportunity to connect with you guys, you know, give you something to do if you're bored in case, and really show you what the latest and greatest Nectari has to offer throughout the next few sessions. So if you're an expert, if you're more of a basic user, don't worry. I think you guys are going to get a lot out of these sessions. Again, today's about the Excel add-in, which is a very popular tool amongst most of you. So on that note, I'll be back at the end to kind of conclude things off, but I'm putting you in very, very good hands. For those of you who don't already know him, Edgardo's been with us for quite a few years now, probably just as long as I have been with Tangerine. So he'll be taking you all the way through, again, the Excel add-in. And Ed, I'll leave it at that. I'll leave you off with that. Have a great session.
Thanks, Olivia. Thanks a lot. We're going to speak to you soon.
Perfect. Sounds good.
So it sounds perfect. So, yep, as Olivia was telling you guys, many of you guys already know me. Many of you guys maybe don't know me, so I'm going to introduce myself again. I'm Eduardo Mejia. I'm a senior BI consultant. I've been working for Tangerine for about 6.5 years somehow. So I guess I have a little bit of experience. So if you have any questions on the Excel add-in that I can solve you right now, just don't hesitate and put it on the questions section and I'll be reviewing them. Again, you can ask your questions all throughout the session. I'll be checking the questions as I go with the training, just to see if I say that something that I see, if I see a question that I can solve right away, then I'll do it. If I say that that is something that it will take more time or it will be derailing me from what I'm explaining at that moment, then of course I will wait until the end. So the idea will be to take about 1.5 hours and then have another 30 minutes at the end just to be completely dedicated to your questions. Again, remember, you can ask questions at any moment. I will check them up. And then at the end, we will check on the more complex questions. And of course, we will have a time that will be completely dedicated to solve them. You can ask the questions as many times as you need it. And I will be repeating as much as needed as well. Okay, so you can also, it doesn't have to be a question. I mean, if you don't have questions, but if you have any inquire of how to get to do something with the add-in somehow, or anything that you might like to see, or anything that you might want me to go deep into, of course, put it there, and I will try to explain again, even if it's not part of what I'm showing in the speech that I have prepared for you. I will adapt myself and I will explain it as well. So just remember, don't feel shy about it, and yeah, we're gonna work like that. Okay, so today my intention will be to present. First of all, I'm gonna just put some context and present you with the new modules we have. We have the web interface, the mobile interface, and the Excel add-in. I will be just reviewing those Nectari components first. It's just gonna be super quick. And then we're gonna talk about the Excel add-in. And then like that, we're gonna be looking at how to create an income statement and how to automate it using data extractions in Formula Wizard. And then how to use the Nectari pivot tables to create another kind of reports. And we're gonna go in deep. And then we're gonna see really how to share files when you work with the Excel add-in. I'm expecting to cover those three things. And if we have more time, I will go as deep as I can, and I will answer as many questions as you need. And at the end, for sure, after an hour and a half of me talking and talking and talking, we will be completely dedicated to you guys for you to solve any questions you have. So let's talk about the Nectari components. We're going to show you the web interface, the mobile interface, and the Excel add-in, and we're going to discuss about how those things interact each other. So this is just to put some context on it. I think you guys saw already some of this with Gerardo. Let's just review it really quick. So if you want to go into the mobile, into the web application, this is the main application we have. You guys just have to go into any web browser. And type, oh, was taking some time, sorry guys. Okay, and just type the address that we're going to be using in this opportunity. We're going to be accessing to the one special website we have for training. That's going to be nectaritraining.tangentsoftware.com, and then press enter. You will recognize this address on your environments because it's usually server name 2 points and then 81. So of course we need to access. It's going to be admin. For this environment, we have another password, of course. It's not the one that we usually use. And this is going to be the web application. Now, the web application, as you guys saw with Gerardo, is going to have a command center. It's going to have administration options. It's going to have a panel in the middle just to see the reports you see in the web. And it's going to have a complete catalog of reports that we offer. In this catalog of reports, it is our intention for you guys to start looking into what we offer in the universal data model, because on this model, in this data warehouse, we're going to allow you to migrate many of the things that we have developed in the Excel add-in, but in the web. Now, part of this development is going to include a way for you guys to manage a forecast, a sales forecast, depending on the configuration you guys have. And you will see something that comes to a lot of value. That's going to be the historical stock movement for you guys that manage X3. Now, we also can go back in time and see how the inventory was at a certain moment in the past. This is something that is present in there. This is something that I wanted to talk about you guys. Now, and in finance, there's a very sexy report that you guys will be using to go back in time on the AP and the AR debt and historical aging debt. So with this report, you can go live back in time and say, hey, you know what? I want to see how my aging report was in April for the sake of the argument. I won't put any other parameter because we don't want to focus on this report. I just want you to know that it exists for you guys to see and play with. This is a report for you guys in X3 and Sage 300. It is a report that reconciles perfectly with the report that comes embedded into X3, and it's also faster. I see that I have a very quick question in here. So Rasa says, we don't have any universal data model. Is this in version 9? So the answer for me, from my part, will be yes. Well, you don't have to have version 9 because we have an early version. But if you're gonna have all the modules that we include on the universal data model, the first prerequisite will be upgrading to version 9. Once you are there, which takes a couple of hours, as you guys know, then we install a new template, and that will be the one that you guys will be using for this. Of course, this template doesn't have an extra cost, as you guys already know. It doesn't require any licensing or something like that, as you guys already know so far. So I hope this answers your question, Raza. So yes, there you go. So then thanks for asking, by the way. So this is going to be the universal data model. And if you guys don't have this AP and AR historical aging, just talk to this service guy with Nick, with me, or with Olivia. And we're going to communicate with you guys just to send you this little zip file you already know, just to include that in the existing template you have. Okay, so let's continue then. It's not our focus to focus in this section. We just want you to really know about this. We're going to have a new session about, we're going to have a whole session dedicated to the universal data model, if I'm not mistaken, and it's going to be next week, I guess, or in a week and a half. So be aware of that and save all those questions just for that. Well, you can ask me as well, but you can also ask those questions during that session. So this is going to be the web application. We're going to stop it in there because you guys know that we have dashboards and we have many things in there, but we want to go fast and see the Excel add-in. So another interface that you guys might not know that we do have available, it's the mobile version. Back in the past, it used to be another application, but not anymore. This is an application. It's going to be part of the same application. The only difference is that the device will be automatically recognized, and then we will display. Let me put this here. Just give me 1 second here, and then it will display. It will be displaying the information according to the size of your device. If I have a mobile phone, then it will be just resizing horizontally. If I have an iPad, I will see the whole thing. And then, of course, everything you access from the command center, you will be able to use here. You will be able even to create views. The only thing you won't be able to do so far will be modifying or creating data models. But we're going to go there at some point. So this is going to be the mobile version. If you guys want to use it, you can use the browsers in your portable devices, or you can just download an app. And the app is called Nectari, and you can download it via the Apple Store and Google Store. So remember that part. If you guys have any issues trying to download or using that app, just talk to us. We will help you out. This is going to be the mobile version. Now, let's go into the Excel add-in. So when we are working in our regular duties, when we need to report information and we need to deal with data, creating the data models, as you know, it's really fun. Creating views, it's really fun. But sometimes we do need to go and manage things in Excel. And sometimes the result of what we want lives in Excel. Or sometimes we just prefer Excel. So for that, we have an add-on that's called the Excel add-on. And that add-on will be it will be allowing you guys to access all the data models and data that you can get from the web application, but in this opportunity in Excel. For what? For, again, automating reports. Let me just go back here for a minute. Automating reports, like the financial reports. You will be able to use components that we offer there as Lego pieces just to assemble a very automatic report like the one I show you right now. You can use another components like the pivot table to create dynamic and vibrant sales reports like the one I show you here. And you can send this to your colleagues just by sharing those files. And for sharing those files, we will see the options later on. So how do we access this Excel add-on? So the first thing is we need to have Excel, of course. And then we're going to install the Nectari add-on. And then the add-on will look like this. There's multiple options. But then again, we're going to see from the most useful option to the less useful option. So we have multiple options in here. We have buttons that go to Formula Wizard and Formula Drill Down, and we just don't know what it is. Well, this add-on, at the very beginning, it needs to get installed. And I guess this is already installed in many of your workstations. But if you don't have it so far, just you can follow the guides that we offer, or we can help you do it as well. Or just talk to your IT guys. They might know, or they might talk to us just for helping you into getting this add-on in Excel for you guys. So this is the prerequisite. We need to have the add-on installed in your computers or in the workstation or in a server that you can access to work with it. And then you can just start playing with it. Now, we have the Formula Wizard. And then before using any option, the first thing we need to do is we need to log in. As you guys know, we have a complete security module. Well, you might not know right now. We're gonna go over that in the next future sessions, but we do have a security module. The security module is gonna control who gets access to what and who gets restricted to what data or not. And then that's why we have to log in first. If you guys don't have access to the add-in, then of course your user needs to be granted with that privilege. All of that is controlled by the security module. So we have first the add-on, and then second we have a user that allows us to connect and use the Excel add-in. In this case, I'm going to be connecting to the same central point I'm working on, and it will be like this. And once I have that available, then okay, then I can start using any option that I have available. Now, I want to take a different approach with you guys this afternoon because I want to show you how we can work with the add-in from the bottom to the top, from what's going to be most useful at the very beginning to then a free for all thing that we can use according to what we need. So I've prepared the file that's going to look like what we're going to be encountering in your companies. So we do have a package of financial reports and sales reports that we want to automate, and that's what we want at the very beginning. So imagine that we have a report that looks like this. Just forget about this section at the top, but we have an income statement and we work for the NA1 group. Now, this is a report that was sent to us for the month of September 2021, and the challenge is getting it to be automatic because we don't want to be generating these numbers every single month. And more importantly, we want to browse the information and switch it so we can see how the fiscal year 2021 compared with 2020. we want to generate the next reports automatically. It's not something that is done right now, because what we get at the very beginning, it's a very fixed report with all the values like this, formulas in Excel, of course, but with values that we will need to go and modify and do the messages that we usually do, and then put in here. For example, this is going to change, so I just do my operations in another workbook, and at the end, the CFO gets a number that's going to be $3,500,000 for the sake of the argument. So that's going to be that, and then we do this, and we struggle like with this every single time. So the first challenge that we can tackle with Excel add-in is getting this report to be generated automatically. So since we have operations in here, the first report that the first component that I will introduce to you guys will be the formula wizard. So the formula wizard will allow you to do mathematical calculations based on the reports that we have in there, based on the parameters that we have in our minds. So these parameters are going to be based on the business rules that you guys have in your companies. For example, for the sales revenue, we all know that's going to be, well, if we are in the space, we know that that's going to be the account 4001, and that account will be the one that will bring those posted transactions. And of course, we know that that's a business rule. We know that we need to use a chart of accounts. And of course, we know that the year and the period will need to be in that. The ledger is also a code that we need to take. So those parameters, we have them here at the top, and we need to identify them. So that's the first step. We have the report, and then we're going to map the business rules into the file. The first business rules, the first group of business rules is going to be, of course, the company, the fiscal years, and the periods, because that's what's going to change. And then I took the opportunity before to prepare this file, because this file will have where these lines are coming from. For example, this first line comes from the account for 41,100, second line 41,900, and well, of course, all the business rules below are going to be the accounts themselves. Since I do have the accounts, then I have my business rules completed. Now, I'm going to start preparing my report. So I have at the top all these conditions, so I can keep them and maintain them dynamically. I've already identified that this distribution wholesale is going to be the analytical dimension 2 in X3. So I already know that that's what's going to be. And I know that that comes from a code that this sets retails. So I'm going to place that part at the top. I have retails, wholesale, retails, and wholesale, because I want to see my posted transactions for the current month, for the last year, and then I want to just break down that by markets in this case, and that's analytical dimension 2. So the component that allows me to take these business rules and apply a mathematical calculation to take the numbers from SCI, from Nectari, it will be the formula wizard. So I will go to the formula wizard, and I will see that I have some environments and references available. I can add more, but so far we're going to use the ones that are there. So I will use one that I prepared, that's finance. And then for finance, we're going to follow a simple speech. So first, it's going to be, what data model do you want to create? Do you want to use? And by data models, I'm going to go back and show the catalog of models that we have on the web application. And if you guys see, there's one that's called finance right here. Now, the field that I want to use for this will be the posting transaction. And what do I want to do with that field when I want to add it up? Now, when I add it up, then the rest of the conditions will be my business rule. Hey, I want to add up every posted transaction. So I want to add up all my postings where the fiscal year comes from what I have on my cell F. Oh, sorry, just give me 1 minute. Information prepared in here. So I will say, hey, I want to add up my finance, all my posting transactions belong to the fiscal year that I prepared. Since I want to copy paste this over, I'm going to remove the dollar sign next to the F, where the fiscal period is actually from the starting month, which is going to be 9/9. It's the current period, and that allows me to see that I can do this kind of calculations in there. Where the ledger comes from the cell F17, where the company code comes from the cell F14, and where the analytical dimension 2, which is the market, comes from the cell F10. Now, I'm going to remove again this, so I take the dollar sign out. I will do it again for the period section here. Now, what am I missing right now? I'm missing, let's press OK, then I get zeros. So I'm missing something in here. I'm missing the account. So I will go and say my account should be coming from the cell D25, and I'm going to remove the dollar sign in there. And now I do have a number. So I have 2021 from the starting month 9/9. And then I will continue like this. Just let me adjust something here. And I will continue. Now on the UDM, we have added a new global currency, and that means that I will need to use it in here. This currency will be working for you guys to produce income statements and balance sheets that could be changing depending on the closing currency, on the closing date or the average date. So that's going to be 2,452,000, and then I will just copy paste all over. Now, just for you two guys to track properly these numbers, I will delete all the information so we can see it all. We can see everything very, very well. Okay, so we have our first condition. We have that it depends on the company that we have at the top, the fiscal year, the starting month, and the ending month. As a tip, the first thing we want you to do is try to keep the formula as standard as you can. Now, having said that, I see that I have a question, so I'm going to check and see what it is. Rebecca Mott, she says, is there any easy way to see the fields you have selected in the formula prior to finishing it? Is there a way to see the fields you have selected? There is a way. When you click on the formula, let me see if I reply this like this. When I click on the formula wizard, the only way I have to see the data will be just checking visually what I have to see. Now, when I've already created the fields, I can quickly verify the fields that I'm using, and maybe this is going to answer your question, by going and performing some Excel tricks. So you can go into the trace precedence option and then see the fields that you're actually using. That's one way of doing this. Or the other way that I prefer or that I use often is I press F2. When I do it, then I see all the reference that I'm using. I see first the formula, and I see then the fields that I'm using. So I'm using in this case the finance reference. I'm using the posting field from there, and I'm using all these dimensions from the data model. And of course, then I have the references. And F6 shows blue, so I can make a reference visually to what I have there. Yeah, I'm really glad that answered your question, Rebecca. Okay, so remember F2, or you can go and trace precedents. And then you can always go and remove the arrows so if you don't want to see them again. Now, the trick in here will be preparing the file. And this is key. You guys will have a fixed format. And this is the main application you guys might find one of the most useful. So you guys will be taking a format and trying to automate it. Prior to going Formula Wizard and starting and creating and adding fields, try to organize it first. As you guys see, I organized all my parameters on my left and at the top. So that way I can just create a formula that will be standard. So since it is a standard and I have everything automated, when I copy paste, I see that the parameters are changing as well. When I copy that formula into the cell below, I see that it switches as well because I've removed the dollar signs that I showed you before. And the only thing we need to do just to complete all of this will be to copy paste. And there's something funny here. If you guys see, the amount is showing negative, and before it was positive. We are trying to take that out, take that part. So, well, in this situation is we need to reverse the signs for the income accounts. For doing that, we can go back to the formula wizard and we can just select the operation we want. We have different operations in here. We have the sum reversal. That's to change the sign, and that's most likely what we're going to be using right now. We can extract just the negative amounts or the positive amounts by selecting debits and credits. We can do an average on the information. We can count, and we can count distinct, minimum, maximum. We can list it. But in this case, we're just going to check reversal because it is an income account. It's going to be a credit. So we're going to just reverse it so it shows properly. Now we can just comfortably copy paste. And as you guys see, I will be able to copy this over. When I go to the cost section, I want to first include it in there. And then I'm going to go to the formula wizard and I will be reversing that again. Since it is a cost, the cost is a debit. So I'm going to just put it the way it is. Just to keep the math together. I'm putting some empty spaces just for me to make easy the copying over the formula. Oops. And then I can just use it for my margins all over. Just by doing that, I've automated this report. And as you guys see, it's super snappy because we're going to cache information and we're going to reuse the memory to perform calculations without hurting your browsers, your servers, sorry. So we're going to have here. And now I have a completely automated and a snappy report. Yep. Let me switch to October to August. My computer is a bit slow today. Sorry guys for that. So when I switch in between August and September, snappy. Very, very fast. I'm going to keep it in September. So the numbers are really, they change really fast. You can really don't notice. So do you see they change like that? So we have a report that's very, very fast and we automate it. And this might be one of the main things we want to do with the Excel adding. We want to automate things. So maybe they're not so flexible, but whenever we calculate them, they just switch the parameters change and they're calculated automatically. Now we can always combine the month, so we can always take the current month every single time. So every time we open the file, we get the information we need. And we can just make and apply some tricks in Excel and perhaps just automate the titles as well. So if I do that, I'll see that I have the number that I need. Let's do this here. Well, I just need to play with this a bit more, but basically it says I can just automate it based on the parameters and then the report will be calculated automatically. Now, remember, once we have this automated, we can always go and check where the information is coming from, because when I go and do drill down here, this is in the next component I want to show you. The formula drill down will allow me to extract every single transaction behind that result. I can extract every single field, or I can extract just certain fields that we have available. Let's just put posting transactions in here, and then just put some others, and then press OK. I'm going to save as just to keep it as my profile. Gardo's cool drill down. Let's put Ed's cool drill down. And when I press OK, I see every single detail behind that number, which is extremely, extremely valuable for the accountants, because you might want to just go and do adjustments if they apply. So remember, we have that. So just by this, we just spent 20, 30 minutes, and actually I was explaining during those minutes, and we automated the report. Key components in here: prepare the file and identify the business rules. That's what we called mappings. And whenever we face a report that faces automating these reports, we are always going to be asking for the mappings, because getting the mappings done are the ones that take more time. It's very evident in here, it says revenue, but sometimes it just says sales, but maybe that's not the account. Those are not, that field, that row is not going to come from the accounts from the 4,000 to the 5,000. Maybe it's going to be something else. So getting those mappings is very, very important. And if you get them, you guys could easily start with the formula wizard and do this kind of calculations. Or if you want to if you want you guys to help you out on that, you can always send us that and we can just send you a quick estimate. And of course, since the mappings are done, then it's just not gonna be too much time. So I'm gonna check if you guys have some questions. Okay, so far, no questions in the meantime. Okay, remember, if you have some questions, just pop them in there, and then I will be checking them up. Now, this is one of the components. We have the formula wizard first, and then we have the formula drill down. Now, we finished with automating our income statement. Now let's go and see what we can do with the trial balance. Now, the trial balance that I prepared for you looks like this, but we're gonna start it over. We're gonna start with a single report that's gonna look like that. We just wanna make it dynamic. And the challenge with the trial balance is that the accounts might disappear or they might not disappear. We need to expand and collapse depending on the accounts that we have available for that specific month. Now, for that report, I'm gonna keep the reference because I always show it from scratch and then we lose track of the reference we have. And then the first thing we wanna do is we wanna extract the list or list all the elements that we have available. Now, to list all the elements, we have a component that's called the data extraction. When we use the data extraction, it will allow us to list, to extract, to take everything that's on the database and put it in Excel. We're not going to perform a mathematical calculation as we did with the formula wizard. We're going to list the elements that we select. In this opportunity, we want to select the account code and the account description. So let's go to the formula wizard, shall we? So we go data extraction. We're going to select the elements. We have the list of every single data model available. And for that, we're going to select finance, which is the one we're using. Then the production, we're going to select the account code and account description. And again, we have the what, the columns, that's going to be what do we want to take from that data model? That's going to be selecting columns. And then we have how do we want to filter? And how do we want to filter is at the end, the business rule. So we have fiscal year. We have the period. We have the company. And we have the ledger code. Here. And I'm going to keep it there because I see a question popping up. Okay, that's a very good question, Bob. So Bob has a question that says, if a user opens this sheet without the add-in installed, will it retain the values? Well, the answer will be, it wouldn't retain the values. Now Excel allows you to freeze it and then it's going to show them. But by principle, the security settings will not allow you to see data you're not authorized to see. So the formula wizard, the first thing you will get when you open the file will be put your credentials. If you don't have the credentials to see that information, everything will on display. And if you don't have the add-in, everything will be showing like an error in a formula. It will be NA or something. Will that answer your question, Bob? Of course, I'm going to be explaining that in deep. I'm going to explain that right now because there's a difference. There's a component that's called the pivot table, and the pivot table will allow you to do more. So I'm gonna, oops, I closed what I was not supposed to close. So let me go back and do that extraction. I will go to finance. I will go to production. And I will say fiscal year 2020. I will say fiscal period. It's going to be 6. The company will be discrete. The ledger will be NAS, and then the currency, that's fine. I cannot use it, and it will be fine. And then what I want to do is going to be account descriptions and account codes. And then I will just extract the distinct records, just the distinct records in here. Remember, I have what do I want to use? What do I want to take from that? And then how do I want to filter it? And then if we want to translate this window into a speech, into a phrase, it will be, I want to use the account code and descriptions from my finance data model, taking into consideration that I just want the list based on the fiscal year 2020, fiscal period June, NA10, that's my company, and the ledger code being NAS, because in some companies we have other type of ledgers going on. So we're gonna press OK, and as you guys see, we have the same result. Now this is called the data extraction. Now again, this is just a number, and for that number we will use the component that we just learned how to use, and that's Formula Wizard. So we're gonna create it. We're gonna go in on it again. We have finance again. That's the one that we prepared. But before just clicking on that, remember the fact that we only have 3 reference in there means that I prepared them by prior to the session, because you can always add a new one. And when you add a new one, you will have the complete list of data models that are coming from the web application. I'm going to continue to use the one that I have by default in here. I want the field to be the opening balance. And one of the most important parts that we want to promote with this universal data model is that all those conditions that you needed to have into consideration before, like, hey, it needs to be the period 0 for the opening balance and whatnot, all of that became a column that you can immediately use on the universal data model, both in the Excel part and on the web. That means that performing and creating key performance indicators will be easier. Okay, so let's continue with the opening balance. We're going to add everything that's on the opening balance, take it into consideration that it needs to come from my fiscal year, being 2020, or everything that's inside the cell C9, fiscal period, everything that's inside the cell B6, the chart of account, the company code, everything that's inside the cell B16, and the ledger code, everything that's inside the cell C18. And when I do this, I have my opening balance being zeros, because I am missing something. What am I missing? The account code. So let's go into my account code. And then, of course, I will remove the $sign so I can copy over the formulas. There we go. The currency code again. I missed it, so sorry guys. I will go and apply where my global currency is USD. And again, I have the numbers matching to what I was expecting. I have a number that's completely not matching, and then I want to reconcile to that report, and that's usually how it works. Okay, so that will be my opening balance. Now I'm going to create an empty space. I don't like to keep empty spaces in between formulas, and that's why I always use this space in between those components. And then I'm going to copy the formula again, and I'm going to reuse it, because I will change. So instead of using my opening balance, I will use my debit. So debit is here, and I will add it up. And then my credit, again, I'm going to make use of my empty formula, and then I will copy. So my credits are added up. And now we have the option to choose the closing balance, or we can just perform it for a simple formula. I will say my opening balance plus my debits minus my credits, because I don't have the proper sign in there. Now, since I have everything that I need, I will just copy over. And then I will add up the total section. And I will make sure that the math that I apply in there is the right one. So let's just do this, and let's do this. And since we have automated this part, we don't need this at the top, so we're gonna just delete it. And of course, we're missing a beautiful format. Let's just put beautiful lines in there because the artistic part, it's important. So we have this line, we have this format. Let me make it more beautiful. Let's just do something like this. We're gonna go and put something like this, so it looks a bit better. So remember, now we have our trial balance, and our trial balance is total. It's the opening balance, and of course it matches perfectly because it's debits 2,558,000 and credits 2,558,000 for a total posting of zeros. That's why not including an account and getting zero as a result is not really bad. It actually means it worked. Okay, so now, what's the functionality of this? Let's say that I have this as my result. When I lost part of my formulas, do I need to do it again? Well, no, because the data extraction has an added benefit, and it is that every time that I refresh that formula, I'm gonna replicate every formula that's on my right. So my data extraction is here. So this gets completely populated. Now, another added benefit is that this will be expanding and collapsing automatically. That means that if I lose some of these sections, when I do data extraction refresh, I can recover the sections that I got. Or if I got my 2021, for example, and my numbers get recalculated, I can go and refresh. And when I refresh, it expands, so it adapts to the report that I need compared in 2021. And again, my result is zeros because we want a matching trial balance in order to pursue our income statement, the pursuit of the income statement. That's what we want. Let me check because I see that there's a question there. So give me 1 minute. Okay, so Dinesh is asking me, what if a new account code is added? This account will automatically populate the same way I showed you before, and it is based on what it shows. So let me just delete it. Let's say that those accounts don't exist at the very at that moment. When I do data extraction refresh, then I go and do this, then they will populate. Now, let me go and switch to 2019. Maybe we don't have anything there, but you know what? Let's push it to the limit. Do you see? Maybe the account didn't exist in there. Yeah, there's no transactions. So if I expand, then everything will be collapsed automatically. So let's go back to 2020. Let's change the period. So now we have August. We can combine and create some elements. For example, we can just make it more user-friendly by adding these little lists in here. And then when I, 2021, let's say, my math got recalculated really fast. And when I do data extraction refresh, then do you see, it was really minimal, but then you see accounts that were not in 2020 just appeared and the format got preserved. So hopefully this answers your question. Hopefully this is going to answer your question, Dinesh. Okay, so now let's take the opportunity that Dinesh is giving us just to go and actually go and see what we can do with this on top of the income statement. I didn't show you guys. It was a little tricky from my part, but as you guys see, these formulas are actually using data instructions. So let me just go and use data instructions. The data instructions in here. Do you see where I find this little comment? I will be finding a data instruction component. So it's like a Lego piece. It's just a Lego piece in our a catalog of things that we can do with the Excel add-in. So I show you that I got this prepared, but something that I did in the background was I replaced this list with small data instructions. Why? Because I have one data instruction and formulas at the right, another data instruction with more formulas on the right, and so on and so forth. Similar to what I have on the trial balance. This means that whenever an account appears in between this range, it will show and it will be added automatically. Since I am able to add up multiple data instructions, this report will be preserved. As you guys see, this format got preserved. We didn't lose it. Well, that's the added benefit of the data instruction. The data instruction will preserve everything that's below, and it will be replicating everything on its right. So that means that these sections will be expanding or collapsing according to the data that we have. If we have a new account, it will show there. If we lose an account, it will be reduced. It will be collapsing that. So we won't have 4 lines. We will have just 4, 3 or 2 maybe in this case. This is an added benefit of using the data instruction. Now, so for you guys to use it, you just need to be sure to copy the whole section. You copy the section and you just paste it below to where you want to see, to where you want to have that information. Just by doing that, you will be reusing that. So remember, we have one component that's to list information, and you can list pretty much everything that's coming from the data model. That's the data extraction. The data extraction requires being refreshed. And you have another component that's called the formula wizard. If you combine the two of them, you could do one. The first thing that you will be able to do if you use the formula wizard will be you can automate a fixed format. And if you combine it with the data extraction, you can generate a very dynamic income statement that will be showing accounts in between lines whenever those accounts apply. So remember, in here I have one block. Guys, did I lose? Can somebody type something in the chat so I can check that I'm actually connected, because it sounded that I lost you guys. Okay. Perfect. Okay. Thank you, guys. Thanks a lot, Rasas. Thanks a lot, Jacob. Yeah. For just a minute, I lost the network. Okay. So thank you, guys. So remember, you will be able to use the formula wizard to first automate reports that you need to automate. And if you combine it with the data extraction, that automation will be dynamic and flexible. And every format, and this is important, the format, the layout that you define with the colors and everything that you want will be kept. It will be preserved. And that's what we want when we automate this kind of reports. Awesome, it says Bob. Yeah, I do believe it is awesome, Bob. It's super, super nice. And yeah, hopefully you guys will enjoy it. And of course, this is a step. So if you want to go web, you have the option to go web. But when we develop in the web, it usually takes more time. So we can just keep it in Excel. And sometimes it is enough if we keep it in Excel, because some CFOs, they will prefer it in Excel. And again, we're going to see at the end options to how to automate this. Now, we just created these reports. We have our trial balance in our income statements. We have very fun options, like the one I'm going to show you, and it's the duplicator. When we have the duplicator, when we play with the duplicator, we will be able to use one field as a pivot and then replicate the report. Now, the company NA1 has the group NA1 has two companies, the company NA10 and the company NA20. I know these are sample companies, but it will apply for you the same way. So I have a company, and as a trick, remember, if you're not sure about the filter you need to apply, you can always use a star, and a star means every single option available for that field. Now, when I use the duplicator on this field, I will be prompted with a window that looks like this, and the window tells me, I know you want to duplicate based on the finance information. What dimension do you want to use? I recognize you want to use the company code that we automatically assign. Now, what's the cell? I mean, what's the cell that will have the possible combinations that I can use? And it automatically recognized that it's the cell F15. Now, if I don't want to generate something, I have this third line that will tell me what do you want to include, which means whatever I don't put in there won't be generated. I will keep it empty, but to keep the example, I will say, hey, if I want to multiply by months, then maybe I want to exclude December. So I will just select from January to November. Or if I just want to generate 6 months, then I will do it in there. In this opportunity, I want to generate everything for every company. And when I press OK, look at what happens. Oops. Oof. Oh, okay. Well, actually, I should have done that because it generated every single company that I have, and some of them don't have data. So do you see sometimes the advices that I tell you is not just for you, it's actually for me first. So let's go and delete all these extra companies. As you can see, I have all the companies, and all these companies are keeping the math or keeping the data structures together. And I have my company NA10 and my company NA20. So I can confidently come here and say NA10, NA20, sorry, company, and NA10 company. And I can start assembling a little book, because even when we want to be able to have everything in here and just switch in between companies, sometimes we do need to present those extra worksheets anyways. And we don't want to just go and duplicate that manually. For that, we have the duplicator. It's a very, very, very cool feature. Hopefully you guys will use it really nice. It's useful for periods. I didn't want to do it for periods because, I wanted to find like an example that's really, really nice. And then that's why I came with the company example. So remember, now we have the income statement for the group. And we can start assembling our little booklet, for the CFOs. Oops, sorry guys. Income statement, NA10. And income statement NA20. And that's going to be the duplicator. So far we have learned about the formula wizard, the formula drill down, the data extraction, the data extraction refresh, and we do have a question. So let me just go and see what it is. So it says, Dinesh, it says, in the column, you have specified as sales revenue, which is a single account or group account. If it's a single account, can we add group of accounts? Oh, that's a very good question. That's a very, very nice question. I didn't show it there, so let me just collapse it in a minute. Let me just take one of those formulas here in the NA20. Remember, in this list, we will automatically recognize a list. So I'm gonna go in here and I will say, hey, that's gonna be my account 41100, but I can add more. So do you see here we have the cost? Let's just add up the cost. So it's gonna be the 51100. So we have the gross margin in here. So I can, with all confidence, I can say, hey, this line will be the gross margin, and the result will be whatever comes from the account 41100, and I will put a single quote to avoid Excel of messing with my numbers, and I will say, and on top of it, I will add into that list the account 51100. And do you see, now we have the gross margin based on 2 accounts. And I can continue to move like this. I can add more and more and more and more and more. Now, if you use a reporting code, it will be way easier. Now, if you can combine reporting codes and that, then it will be way more powerful. But this is the principle. Now, the formula wizard, now that you mentioned that part, also includes a list for you to list dynamically. So let me just put here list. And when I do list, dynamic list, that's going to be more powerful. When I do dynamic lists, I can say, hey, you know, for the year 2020, just list all the accounts. Let's put the period so we don't have so many things in there. And in the company code, let's put the NA10, just to show you an example of it. So we have a dynamic list. Well, I didn't have any combination in there. That's particular. So the company code NA20, the fiscal period. There we go. It could be better. It could be more refined, but this is the principle. So you have accounts, and you can start combining them if you want. You can put these accounts on top of the ones that you have, and you can even complement or add more details into this by doing what I'm going to show you next. So you can come and use this formula wizard results and add them up. For example, if I want to multiply times minus 1 in this formula, I can do it as well, like I'm doing right now. Or if I want to add up another formula that comes from the same, that has the same complexity, I will be able to do it as well. So the net access formula is as flexible as any other formula in Excel. Oops, I just lost some of the signs in there. Sorry there. And then when I go into my formula wizard, I have 2 formulas. So you can stack up as many formulas as you need. And you can, of course, use that. You can base that formula not just in one value, you can add many others just by using of a comma. You put comma and then you add the ones you need. And that's pretty much the principle that we follow. Will that answer your question, Danish? Hopefully it does. Let me keep it in there. Okay, so now let's continue and see what else can we do. So we have seen the formula wizard, we have seen the formula drill down, we have seen the pivot table. Let's think about going in the web, and then let's just go and switch. If I want to switch, I can always use my open view just to see the views attached and open them into the report that I have. So I will say, for example, the income statement report, and that will pop up a window that will allow me to log in and see that report right away. Well, it says no data, but that's the principle in there. Now, we have that. We have the prompts, as I showed you before. The prompts are going to help us filter. So when I have this company, I have this little helping here that will help me use the company that I need. We can always go online and offline. Online and offline will be switching off and switching on the connection, so we don't have to close Excel, or we don't have to worry about recalculating the file. And now, those are going to be like some cool functionalities in there. Remember, when we're dealing with the formula wizard, we're going to be creating references, and for the references, we are creating this reference configuration. We can go there and adapt the dimensions that we need into that performance engine that I was mentioning at some point at the very beginning. So that is there. And well, this is going to be this. So practical use, it's very practical, and we can use it so we can automate fixed reports, we can make them dynamic, and we can duplicate and whatnot. We can go deep by using formula drill down. And one very cool feature with the Excel add-in, you will be able to create pivot tables using the data models that we have on the web application. So how does it work? For that, I've prepared a very empty report. What I will say, I don't want any grid lines or headlines or whatnot or anything like that. This is gonna be my sales report for Nectari. Any one group. And now I will say, I go to add-ins and I will say, hey, I wanna create a pivot table. And that pivot table, again, is gonna follow the same principles. What do I wanna use? What do I wanna select? How do I wanna filter? 3 questions that we are going to answer by manipulating this window. So we're gonna go to sales invoice analysis. The environment is gonna be production. You can use many environments as well. And this is an added benefit of the add-in. You don't need to go and create cubes to consolidate different environments because you have them all available in one cell, and that is powerful. Now, I will just select some of the fields. There's many things in there. And I'm not gonna filter by anything, just to extract all the information in there, and I will press OK. I'm going to load the data into Excel because this is gonna be a pivot table. So we need to wait a bit. We're gonna do chunks of 2,000 rows at a time. And then we have a regular pivot table. And I'm going to follow up with Bob's question. Oh, let me see, because there's more questions in here. Okay, Bob, I was actually going in there. I was gonna follow up with you on that part. So just to add up more to Bob's question, when we are working with the data extraction, just let me save this file because I feel that we haven't saved, and that gives us some uncertainty. So just to follow up with Bob's question, whenever we are using the formula wizard, we will require authentication. We will require to be users with access to that specific information. We will always check securities all the time. Now, when we deal with the sales report with the pivot table, we will be validating against security when we refresh the data behind. But once you have the information in this workbook, that's it. You could send it as is, and people will get that information right away. Now, that answers Bob's question partially. The other section of that question will be relative to the, let me think about this straight. It will be related to the, sorry guys, I got the word in my mind and it disappeared. It will be related to sharing the information. So I'm gonna go deeper into that in a few minutes. But just right now, we're gonna have an option that says create a static copy. So whenever we want to share information and that information is based on the formula wizard, and we don't want people to have the net assets formula, but actually the amount that they need to see, we're gonna use the create a static copy to create a static copy. And that will be just taking everything that says net access and replacing it with just the value. And then you have some options that are sending by email, or if you wanna just put it in a network folder. And that will be the answer for that second part that I mentioned before, Bob. I'm gonna go deeper into that, but hopefully this answered your question like 90%, if you confirm that there. And I will do an example, don't worry for that. So let's finish with this so we can go and tackle that sharing capabilities. So when we go into this pivot table, we are going to see that this behaves as a pivot table. So we can show the fields, and on these fields, we can always go and see the amounts, amount, invoice amount, and then we can go and take the customer, the country, for example. Well, let's see by product in this opportunity, just to keep it simple. When we go by product, we have all the products in here just showing right away. We have the, oh, we missed the customer, so let's go back for it. So we're gonna go and take the opportunity to just go and find the customer. We go again into the pivot table and we're gonna look for that customer. We missed it, so let's put it back there. Let's press OK and we will refresh the information. Now, when we refresh, when we take that data from behind, from behind the scenes, we will need to log in into Nectari. But we don't need to log in just to send this pivot table to somebody else, if that makes sense for you guys and Bob. Now, I'm going to take the customer again, and we have customers and we have products. Now we're going to take the year. Let's try to put it in the pivot in columns in here. So we have it like this, broken down like that, and then the period. So now this looks very nice. So let's try to make it a bit nicer. And by that, we're going to put some space right here. And I like to do something. I don't usually like to present information with this layout. I usually like to display it in a classic pivot table format. So for that, we go display, classic pivot table. And we have a pivot table that looks like this, it looks more visually appealing. And we're gonna sum and we'll just put a formatting here. So let's put numbers. Let's show it like that. So as you guys can see, it shows as numeric values. Try to make it a bit more beautiful. Yeah, there we go. This looks better. So we have customer name, then product names, and then let's try to make it more a bit cooler by just playing with these formats that we have in Excel. And as you guys can see, we have a report that looks very nice in here. But now, how can I play with this? How can I change filters dynamically if I don't have the controls I have with the formula wizard and the data extraction? Well, there's a functionality that's called slicers in Excel. So we use slicers, but we use slicers that are going to be connected to the prompts inside the data model on the web application. So whenever we click on any Nectari pivot table and we go into the insert tab and we select slicer, we're going to see a list of every single prompt that we have available for you guys. Now I'm going to take the opportunity and look for the company name. I'm going to activate it in there. I'm going to take as well the bill to country. I'm going to take something very important, the sales rep. Something that I'm going to miss is going to be the period. So I do have this. So what I can do right now is that I just can accommodate it according to what I need. So I can do something that looks like this. company name. Expand it a little bit more. Just add another column in here just so it looks better. And then now on the calendar period, I can do something that's quickly done like this. I can put it next to here so it looks a bit different. I'm trying to put it horizontally, but it's not collaborating with me. Sorry, guys, I'll put it just like this. Hang on. So in this opportunity, we will be able to, let's just put it on the side because it's not going to look beautiful like that. So when we have these controls activated, we can quickly filter in the information that we want and create a very dynamic report based on that part. Now, if we want to change, if we want to, in here, we're loading all the data and put it into Excel, but of course, we can always use the pivot table functionalities just to filter what we want to extract. Now, something very cool about these reports is that you guys will be able to generate pivot graphs as well. So you can always go in here and say, hey, now we want to insert a pivot chart. And then when you insert the pivot chart, let's insert just one that's going to be very simple to add. I'm having a clash in between windows right now. Okay. We can start pressing the information and playing with it. Now, this is a very quick example. An application of this I want to show you is something that looks like this on height. And it's this dashboard. These graphs are based on pivot tables that are behind the scenes. And of course, I can create a very beautiful dashboard by using these slicers, getting nurtured by a pivot table that I have hidden. You can send this, and of course, this is information that's in Excel at this point when we use the pivot table. So remember, when we share this, this information will be in the Excel file. Now, let me just do an overview because we're close to having the 30 minutes for dedicated questions. Okay, so we have, as components, we have Formula Wizard along with data extraction to create a very dynamic report. When we apply those two together, we can have a data extraction with the Formula Wizard to generate a very dynamic and flexible income statement that will be expanding and collapsing, adding the missing accounts whenever it's needed, and keeping the format together. we have the pivot table, and we have the pivot table with slicers applied to graphs. And when we do that, we can generate a dashboard that we can send here. Now, I want to show you something, and that's going to be a balance sheet that's using the UDM. So when we have the UDM, we can think about combining the different incomes, the different financial statements in a pivot table. So as you can see, guys, I jumped from the balance sheet in here, matching perfectly, to my cash flow, to my second format. I have two cash flows here. I have one format and another format, to my income statement. This is going to be using the finance cube on the on the new universal data model. Now, let's follow up with Bob's question and with you guys with the agenda as well. And we're going to talk about the sharing options. So how can we share all of this? So we do have an option that's called create static copy. So now let's do an example of this. But first, let me save. When we create a static copy, we can decide if we want to share the whole workbook or just the active worksheet that we are looking at the moment. And then we can just decide to open the document after the copy or send it by email right away. I will open the document after copying it, and I will say, copy the whole workbook. Now, in here will be Excel example Nectari training. Did it open? Yeah, there we go. It is here. For some reason, the colors fade out, but that's not an issue. Now, as you guys see, what we had well, actually gives us the opportunity to actually compare them. So we have this format, and this format has the NEC access formula, whereas in this format, it's just a fixed value. That's going to be creating a static copy. That's what we mean about static copy. We mean we don't need to log in with security, with the security settings. You just have the amount that we have. What's important in this is that we are going to keep the Excel formulas that are natural to Excel. So the sum keeps its place. The total cost in here keeps its place. The gross margin keeps the formula that it is. We are just going to replace formulas that are coming for the formula wizard. And of course, the data extraction just completely disappears. That's another benefit. All the other things are kept the same way. Now, the pivot tables, though, they will be the thing that will disappear. It will be the ability to refresh the pivot tables from SCI, from Nectari. When we send this file as it is, these pivot tables will be the only ones keeping the data in. Yeah, so perfect. Yeah, so yeah, hopefully now I know that this answers your question. So for Bob. Now, do we have to do this manually each single time? Well, we can. I mean, of course, we always have the freedom to come in here and then generate this manually. But of course, this is going to combine with the scheduler. Let me just, I have multiple windows relative to my webinar window. So Okay, now I'm there. So with the scheduler, we will be able to automate this, the generation of this static format. When we are working with the Excel add-in, we'll have the option to use the file, and we will have the option to export that in PDF, in Excel, and by Excel I mean static copy, or an Excel file that will keep the Nectari formulas. You have the two options, and then you choose. I have a question there, so I'm gonna go and see it. Oh, okay, no, I just miscalculated. Okay, so here, remember, this is going to be the way to generate that part. I don't have any other questions. I thought I had a question, but I didn't. So the Excel add-in will be the scheduler, sorry. It will be the one that will allow you to automate what I previously did manually. And you can distribute as many files as you need. And all of those are going to be sent to the recipient that you desire, either by email or by being exported in a network drive. That's to add up to Bob's question and to follow up the guidance. So you will be able to share by mail, network drive, or just in your own local drive. That's what this means, hopefully. I tried to be a little bit artistic here, but you get the point now. Now, you can do this, of course, manually, but if you don't want to do it manually, you can always use the scheduler module, and that's going to be the first option in the administration section. And remember, the security module is always here. Now, let's go back. Let's close this Excel file because it's the copy of the book that we wanted. And then let's review what we have left. There's something that applies to this cache, to this way of working this fast. And that's what we keep in memory. So whenever we use the formula wizard, we will have the option to configure or to tell Nectari to take a snapshot of the query that's going to search, to go and then reuse it for the sake of having the report generated faster. Now, it does generate the report faster, but of course it's going to stick with the picture that will be in the past. So how do you renovate? How do you renew that picture? Well, to renew that picture, you will be using the option clear cache. When we use clear cache, we're just going to tell Nectari, go and clear those pictures up, and then go and reuse it, and then go and show the new information in there. Let me press OK in here, and I'm going to just make use of another functionality. I can make use of the refresh Excel workbook, but I won't do it because I want to make use of another functionality that's called refresh formulas. And that is here. This is the equivalent of doing Control-Shift F9. So I will click on it, and while I wait, I will see if I have another question. Okay, so Bob says, when you use a scheduler, how do you update parameters for monthly report? Oh, that's a very good question. You will be surprised with the answer that I have. So here, okay. So of course, we're gonna switch the months in between the months. So we have two options. We can always come here and say, hey, you know what? Month equals to today. You know, so it's gonna be the month that's taken at the moment you run the report. But that's like a trick. The official way of doing this will be the following. Let me just save this file, and then let me just go and gather the path where I have this in. So yeah, there you go. Here, it's there. Okay, so this little window is not allowing me to. Okay, I have my report in there. I have my path. So I can always go into the web application here and say, hey, you know what? I want to add this file. Let me just start over so we show it from the very beginning. Excel adding views. We're going to upload a file. And that file will be the file that I'm working on right now. I will select it and I will press confirm. Now, if I want to distribute the report, I'm having a little issue here. Okay, now it's working. Sorry for that, guys. Okay, so now I'm gonna just go in here, and as you can see, I have my file here, and I have all the worksheets that I have inside that file. So I will select the income statement just for the sake of the argument. I will say, you know what, export in Excel. So it's gonna be fixed. Well, I have a timeout, and I will say, you know what, my main menu, I will say from that income statement, let me see, from that worksheet, which is going to be the income statement group, I will be filtering, I will be executing my report, taking into consideration that the cell F17, and I literally type F17, gets executed with whatever the current month is. Of course, you can choose the one you want. I just put current month, but you can take 9, 8, 10, whatever. The current month will be that global variable, and that's something you guys will see during the next trainings. That global variable will be replacing itself every month. So every time I execute it, I take a new month. Take it into consideration, of course, that I have a new month that I'm executing this report the next month. And I will say, hey, and now this income statement group will be getting where the cell F16 is equal to the current year. That will be 2025. So I'm expected to have these results. Let's go here, and then now I have my parameters in here, and then I will say, hey, the consolidated report, I don't want to have it. It will be sent to the admin user. I will run as admin, and I will be sending it to myself. Let's see what happens. I can schedule the next conditions, but in this opportunity, I want to go faster. So for that, I will be clicking the play button, which means execute it now. So this is the play button, and I will run it. It's been a while since I don't try this, so hopefully I follow the proper steps. But the steps that I tell you about, hopefully my configuration is properly done in this environment, my SMTP settings and all of that. What is not going to change is what you need to do. You need to go and follow the steps that I told you there. It failed. Oh, okay. There is a precondition to generate these files via the distribution. I do need to have Excel, and I do need to have the Nectari add-in inside the server. They need to be installed in there. I don't have them in this server, but pretending that I do have them, then I will get an email with that unique worksheet. And of course, that email is gonna have these parameters completely changed. And the way to do it will be this. This is the way you do it, Bob and you guys. If that answered your question. Will that be fine for you, Bob? Yeah, perfectly. So remember, now we have multiple things to share this file. We have the create a static copy. We have the distribution, and then we have the way to send it the way to generate it and distribute it to a network drive. Let me go back to my slides in here, and I will ask you guys if you have any other question that I can reply for you guys prior to inviting Olivia to join us back. Okay, so I don't see any question popping up. Let's give you a couple of minutes if you guys want to think about it, and let's see. Okay, so there is another question. Okay, what kind of network share options are there? Just Windows network or OneDrive? It could be both, because right now the network drive could be well, there's a little trick though. So you can put it in a network drive, but that network drive via Windows could be a OneDrive. So it is both, although it will be a OneDrive via a network share. If that answers your questions, Bob. Yep. Okay. We're working hard just to add all these elements for collaboration. I'll give you guys a little bit more time for you to guys think about the questions, and I'll be here. Okay, so any special requirements when installing Excel on the Nectari server? Well, as long as it's an Excel, it's an Office with, it doesn't have to be below 2010, then it's fine. So I guess there's no special considerations. It could be any Excel. It could be any Excel, any Office version that you have available. It could be 32 bits or 64. We just require Excel to be there. We're working hard. This is a little thing that we have in our palette, in our plan. We're thinking about a way for people to avoid using or having to have Excel in their servers. But that's something that's on the palette in the workshop. So I don't have too much things to say about it, but it's coming. It's going to be huge. That's what I can say actually. And now all your expectations are on that, since I said it's going to be huge. But yeah, we're working on it. But so far, any Office will work. Any Office you have available will work at this point. I mean, below 2010, there's nothing at this point right now. So Jacob says, will the materials, video recording from this presentation be shared with this group? Yeah, of course. They're going to be shared at the end of all the sessions. Yeah, we're also going to share some exercises if you want to. Go ahead. Now, I have another. Charlotte says, reference configuration is vital to quick performance. Is there any documentation on how to set up for optimal refresh speed? Okay. Let me check because we do have some documentation on it, and we have prepared. I believe we have a couple of videos that we have done with trainings, and if you want, we could somehow organize like an hour. We have an hour of training, an hour and a half of training that's just for performance and dealing with the cache. And we teach you how to, we're going to teach you how to use the different apps we have to. We're going to teach you how to troubleshoot the performance from your perspective and a technical perspective using PowerShell and queries. So we do have that. So let me see what I can get for that, and I will tell Olivia to attach it to what we're going to be sending you, if that answers your question. Yeah. Now, Dinesh says, is there Excel add-in for Mac? Unfortunately, we don't have the Excel add-in available for Mac computers, for Apple computers, although we are working on it during this year. So we have a more universal Excel add-in working on every device. But that's everything I can say about it, because it's what's coming, and it's gonna be huge. I'm telling you. Hopefully that answered. I guess it doesn't answer your question, but that's what I have for you, Dinesh. I'm telling you, it's gonna be this year. Something this year is gonna come in regards to that. But so far we don't have it. Any other question, guys? Awesome, Dinesh. I'm really happy that you find that really nice. Yeah, I'm eager to see what Guy and the guys are gonna come. We're gonna be. There is a project that we have right now ongoing, and it is taking the Excel add-in and really making it so it works everywhere, and many other things. Now, Shivanant, sorry if I mispronounce your name, has another question. Is, does it support 32 bits or 64 bits Excel, or both? Both are fine. There is something that you need to click on just to select the version that you have, but both are supported. And even if you have a 32 bits machine, we have an add-in for that. And by 32 bits, I mean fully 32 bits Windows operating system. Okay, so what license does the add-in, Bob has a question. What license does the add-in consume, viewer or full user? That's a very good question. It depends on the user. So the Excel add-in by itself doesn't have a preference. Whatever the user has that's going to be the license that will be consumed. So if the user is a viewer, it will be a viewer license. If it's not a viewer, then it will be a full BI license. Hopefully that answered your questions. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so I have another. What restrictions between viewer, user, and full user? Oh, that's a very nice question. Let me just go back into my web application and explain that deeply. Let's put this here. Confirm. And licensing, okay. Okay, licensing. So viewer and full BI. When you have access to full BI, you will be able to access into the data models and modify them. Also, you will be able to change the configuration of the views, and you have the option to use the OLAP manager. When you have a user that's just a viewer, it's read-only, pretty much. You have read-only capabilities. Even if you have access to the data model by the security settings, you won't be able to use it. or you won't be able to modify things that are inside Nectari. It will be read-only. That's going to be the difference in between the two of them. Also, if we're talking about money, there's a huge difference in between full BI and viewers, since the viewers are cheaper and you can buy them in box. So you can buy 4 to 5, 10 viewer licenses and you will have a better price. So yeah, you have read-only, first of all, and then cheaper. That's your question. Okay, there you go. That was actually your question. There you go. So yeah, I guess it's like a 1.5 ratio. It's like I don't know, X amount is gonna be full BI. X times 2 will be a viewer. X divided 2, I mean 50% of X if it's a viewer, and then you take up to 5. If you take 10, then it will be 60%, or yeah, 60% less. Or Olivia knows about it. She's your girl for that, Cal, because you know, 2021. Okay, any write-back support from the Excel add-in? Excellent question. We have write-back capabilities in the web. So similar to what we used in OpenView, we have the option to data entry. But when we use data entry, we are going to be a window asking for a window popping up showing you the data entry window that we have in the web application. So we don't have a write-back data entry option from Excel itself, but we do have it through the web application, and you can take that option from Excel itself. Hopefully that answers your question, Bob. Any other question, guys, before asking Olivia to join back? Jacob, I'm really happy that it's all set for you. And I'm really happy that you had the time. I'm really happy that we have the time to meet today. And, you know, explain you all of these. The Nectari Excel add-in is really, there's a lot of passion involved on it, because you can do a lot. We have done a lot, and I've personally done a lot with it. I've personally struggled in the past with it. And, you know, I just love it, you know, it's like, you know, love. And or more love than hate, because I really love it, and it's really powerful. I guess you could notice. So it's really nice. It's really powerful, and you can do many things. Dinesh, I'm really happy that you liked it, and yeah, I guess I'm really happy. I'm really happy that we had the chance to see all your the questions that you had, Dinesh. Well, I'm gonna ask Olivia to join.
Yeah, you can just, if you don't mind pulling up the last slide, that would be great.
Let me
and also, just a reminder for you, we're in 2020, not 2021.
Oh my gosh! Do you see? That's a quarantine effect. I just don't know.
It's the quarantine effect. Yes. Yeah, so just wanted to make sure, you know, page.
And you know what? My examples are in 2021. The training is for the future.
Okay, it is for the future, yes. Yes, you'll still be able to use the Excel add-in in 2021. All right, so I really hope, guys, that the session went well today with Ed. I know he covered a lot on the Excel add-in. Of course, he's one of our top-notch experts on that part of the solution specifically. So I'm really hoping that you got some great info out of it. It seemed like there was a lot of questions too, which is awesome. I did just want to take a minute to kind of conclude and just go over some final thoughts and next steps. So in regards to licenses, we do have a promotion right now for those of you who are interested in adding, whether it's full users, viewer users, or maybe even some of the data sync components, which you'll see in the upcoming sessions. We do have a 25% discount that's available until the end of June. And for any information on pricing, on licensing, don't hesitate to contact me. My email address is right there. The next training session coming up is going to be on Tuesday, June the 2nd, and that's all about the data modeler. So process design, creating new templates, so on and so forth. So looking forward to that. And just one last thing to mention, for anyone who's interested in upgrading to version 9 who hasn't already, we'll include our colleague Nick's information on the next session. If you would like to upgrade and you know that already, you can contact me and I'll forward you on to Nick, who's our Director of Services, but please don't hesitate again to reach out. Am I missing anything? And yeah, last but not least, I know we mentioned it, but I'm still getting a lot of emails regarding this. All the sessions are being recorded, shared all once the sessions have been fully completed. So don't worry about that. You'll get access to those recordings once we've completed all the sessions. So again, just want to thank everybody. Want to thank Edgardo for taking the time today as well to provide the training. Thank all of you. And I don't think we don't have any sessions scheduled this week. So for everybody, I am wishing you a wonderful weekend. Enjoy. Have a great weekend. Thank you so much.